The warning lights flashed red across the control room of Haven 7 mining station. Hana wiped sweat from her forehead as she watched the storm readings on her screen. The cosmic storm was bigger than anything she had seen in her 3 years. Running this small operation. How long until it hits us? She asked Kim Juno, her chief engineer. Juno was bent over his console, fingers flying across the controls. 20 minutes, maybe less, Juno replied without looking up. This is a bad one, Hana. We need to shut down all outside operations right now. Hana grabbed the station-wide communication device. All crews returned to base immediately. Storm coming in fast. This is not a drill. Haven 7 was a small mining station built into an asteroid on the edge of human space. 8 people called it home, working hard to extract valuable minerals from the rock around them. It was not glamorous work, but it was honest work. Hana had bought the mining rights with her life savings 2 years ago, determined to build something of her own. The crew rushed inside as the first waves of the storm hit. Space storms were dangerous things, full of energy that could fry electronics and kill anyone caught outside without proper protection. The station's shields would protect them, but only if everyone stayed inside. Park Min-ho, their security chief, sealed the last airlock. Everyone's in, he reported. All mining equipment secured. Hana nodded and settled in to wait. Space storms could last anywhere from a few hours to several days. All they could do was stay safe and hope their shields held. An hour into the storm, their communication system picked up a distress signal. This is unexpected, said Song Minji, their communications officer. She adjusted her headset and frowned. Someone's out there in this mess. Can you clean up the signal? Hana asked. Minji worked for several minutes, filtering out the storm interference. Finally, a voice came through clearly. It spoke in accented but understandable human standard language. This is the vessel Morning Star. Engines failing. Request emergency shelter until storm passes. Please respond. The crew looked at each other. Haven 7 was registered as an emergency shelter point, as required by space law. Any ship in distress had the right to request help. But they were a small operation, and taking in strangers always carried risks. What kind of ship? Hana asked. Minji shook her head. I can't get a clear scan through this storm. Wait, I'm getting something on visual. The main screen flickered and showed a fuzzy image of space around their station. Through the storm, they could see a dark shape approaching. It was unlike any ship design Hana had ever seen. It looked almost organic with smooth curves instead of the hard angles of human ships. Definitely not human, muttered Otaman, their navigation specialist. Should we let them dock? Asked Choi Yuna, their medical officer. We don't know what they are or what they want. Hana thought for a moment. Space law was clear about helping ships in distress. More importantly, it was the right thing to do. She had been raised to help people in need, even if those people might not be human. Morning. Star, this is Haven 7, Hana said into the communicator. You are cleared to dock at Port 3. Follow the guide lights. Thank you, came the reply. The voice sounded relieved and somehow very old. Your kindness is appreciated. The docking process took longer than usual because of the storm, but eventually the alien ship connected to their station. Hana and her crew waited in the docking bay, not sure what to expect. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and a figure stepped through. He looked almost human, but not quite. He was tall and thin, with pale skin that seemed to have a slight shimmer to it. His hair was black with streaks of silver, and his eyes were the strangest golden color Hana had ever seen. He wore simple dark clothing that looked expensive but practical. I am called Ryong, he said, bowing slightly. I thank you for offering shelter in my time of need. I'm Hana, station manager, she replied. This is my crew. Are you injured? Do you need medical attention? Ryong seemed to consider this question carefully. I am tired, he said finally. Very tired. The storm caught me unprepared. There was something about the way he said it that made Hana think he meant more than just physically tired. He looked like someone who had been traveling for a very long time. We can offer you a guest room and meals, Hana said. Nothing fancy, but it's clean and safe. That would be most generous, Ryong replied. His formal way of speaking was strange but not unpleasant. Bei Ji-won, their technical engineer, stepped forward. "Sir, what kind of ship is that? I've never seen anything like it." Ryong glanced back toward the airlock. "It is very old," he said simply, "perhaps older than your species' journey to the stars." This caused some murmurs among the crew. Humans had only been traveling in space for about 200 years. How old was this being? Hana decided not to push for more information right now. Their guest looked exhausted, and the storm was still raging outside. "Let me show you to your room," she offered. She led Ryong through the station's corridors. Haven 7 was not built for luxury. The walls were plain metal, and everything was designed for function rather than beauty. But it was clean and well-maintained. "You have a good operation here," Ryong observed as they walked. "Small, but efficient. Your crew works well together." "How can you tell?" Hana asked. "I have seen many such places," Ryong replied. "In groups that work well, you can feel the harmony. Your people trust each other." Hana felt a small glow of pride. Building a good team had been one of her biggest challenges when she started this operation. The guest room was small but comfortable, with a bed, a desk, and a small window looking out into space. Right now, the view was nothing but the swirling colors of the storm. "This will do very well," Ryong said. "Again, I thank you for your kindness to a stranger." "It's what anyone would do," Hana replied. Ryong looked at her with those strange golden eyes. "I think you would be surprised how rare true kindness is in the universe," he said quietly. After settling their guest, Hana returned to the control room. The storm was still going strong, and they had several more hours to wait before it passed. "What do you think?" asked Minho as she sat down. "I think he's more than he appears to be," Hana said. "But he asked for help, and we gave it. That's what humans do." Outside, the storm raged on, and their mysterious guest rested in the small room they had provided. None of them could have guessed that this simple act of kindness would change everything. The next morning, Hana woke to find the storm had passed. She dressed quickly and headed to the control room to check on station operations. As she walked through the corridors, she noticed something strange. The air felt different somehow, like it was charged with energy. "Good morning, boss," Juno called out as she entered the control room. "All systems are back online, but something weird happened during the night." "What kind of weird?" Hana asked, pouring herself coffee from the station's small kitchen area. "Our life support system was failing," Juno explained, pulling up readings on his screen. "The main recycling unit was about to break down completely. But look at this." The screen showed system diagnostics from the night before. Around 3 in the morning, all the failing components had suddenly started working perfectly. Not just working, but functioning better than they had in months. "That's impossible," Hana said. "Did someone fix it?" "No one touched it," Juno replied. "I checked with everyone. Minji was on night watch, and she swears no one left their rooms except to use the bathroom." Hana felt a strange feeling in her stomach. "Where's our guest?" "I saw him in the common area about an hour ago," said Yuna, walking in with her morning medical reports. "He was just sitting by the window, looking out at space. Very quiet." Hana decided to check on Ryong. She found him exactly where Yuna had said, sitting in one of the chairs near the large window that looked out into space. In the daylight from the nearby star, he looked different than he had the night before. Less tired, but also somehow more present, as if he was fully awake for the first time. "Good morning," Hana said. "I hope you slept well." "Very well, thank you," Ryong replied. "Your hospitality has been most refreshing." "Ryong, can I ask you something? Did you happen to notice anything unusual with our life support system last night?" Ryong was quiet for a moment. "Your systems were struggling," he said finally. "Old equipment working hard to support 8 lives. It seemed ungrateful of me to allow my hosts to suffer when I could help." "You fixed our life support?" Hana asked, sitting down across from him. "I made some small adjustments," Ryong said, as if repairing complex machinery was no more difficult than fixing a leaky faucet. Before Hana could ask more questions, Juno's voice came over the communication system. "Hana, You need to get down to engineering right now. Something incredible is happening. Hana and Ryong made their way to the engineering section. They found Juno standing in front of the main power core, staring at his readings with his mouth open. This is impossible, Juno said. Our power output has increased by 40%. The core is running smoother than it ever has. And look at this. He pointed to a section of machinery that had been held together with repair patches and hope for the past 6 months. Now it looked brand new, all smooth metal and perfect connections. How? Juno asked, looking at Ryong. As I said, small adjustments, Ryong replied. Juno walked closer to their guest. Sir, with respect, this isn't a small adjustment. This is advanced engineering beyond anything humans can do. What are you? Ryong looked at the faces around him. Hana could see he was deciding whether to tell them the truth. I am someone who has lived for a very long time, he said slowly. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have watched species take their first steps into space and their last breaths as their stars died. How long? Yuna asked quietly. Long enough to see your species develop from primitive tool users to space travelers, Ryong replied. Long enough to watch 1,000 other species do the same. The room was silent. Hana tried to understand what he was saying. You're saying you're thousands of years old? Much older than that, Ryong said. Though time becomes difficult to measure when you travel between stars. Taemin, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Are you some kind of alien explorer? A scientist studying developing species? In a way, yes, Ryong said, though I was not always alone in this work. Once, there were many of us who watched over young civilizations. We guided them when they needed guidance, protected them when they faced dangers beyond their understanding. What happened to the others? Hana asked. Ryong's golden eyes grew sad. They were hunted, killed by things that feed on life and light. Most of my kind chose to fight and died in glorious battles. I chose to hide, to survive, hoping that someday the universe would be safe enough for us to resume our duties. And now? Juno asked. Now I am tired of hiding, Ryong said. Your species has shown me something I had forgotten existed. Last night, you opened your home to a complete stranger in the middle of a dangerous storm. You offered food, shelter, and safety without asking for anything in return. You did this even though I was clearly not human, even though it might have been dangerous. He looked directly at Hana. In all my long years, I have rarely seen such pure kindness. Most species help their own kind, sometimes even close allies. But to help a complete stranger, someone who might be a threat, that is rare. That is special. Minho, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped forward. You said things hunted your kind. Are we in danger by helping you? Ryong considered this question seriously. Possibly. The hunters can track my kind across vast distances. They may eventually find me here. What are these hunters? Hana asked. Things that should not exist, Ryong replied. They consume matter and energy, leaving nothing but empty space behind. They see life as an infection to be cleaned away. And you've been running from them? For a very long time, yes. But perhaps it is time to stop running. Bai Jiwan, who had been examining the repaired equipment, looked up. Sir, if you don't mind me asking, how exactly did you fix all this? I've been working with machines my whole life, and I've never seen anything like what you did. Ryong walked over to a damaged panel that Jiwan had been trying to fix for weeks. He placed his hand on it, and Hana saw the metal begin to glow softly. When he removed his hand, the panel was perfect. I can encourage matter to remember its proper form, he explained. Metal wants to be whole. Energy wants to flow cleanly. I simply remind them how. The crew stood in amazed silence. Finally, Hana spoke. You're not just an old alien traveler, are you? You're something much more. I am what humans might call a dragon, Ryong said simply. Though that word carries meanings in your culture that are not entirely accurate. A dragon, Yuna repeated slowly. A guardian of civilizations. A shepherd of young species. At least, that is what I once was. Hana felt the weight of what he was saying. They had not just helped a stranded traveler. They had helped one of the most powerful beings in the universe, and he was grateful to them. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Ryong said, "I remember why my kind once thought protecting others was worth the risk." 3 days passed quietly on Haven 7. Ryong spent most of his time in the common areas, watching the crew work and asking gentle questions about human customs and technology. He seemed especially interested in how they made decisions as a group and how they treated each other during disagreements. Hana found herself enjoying their conversations. Despite being ancient beyond imagination, Ryong was curious about everything. He wanted to know why humans listened to music, why they kept pictures of family members, and why they shared meals together even when it would be more efficient to eat alone. "Your species is very social," he observed during one such meal. "Even in a small group like this, you maintain complex relationships and rituals." "Don't all species do that?" asked Minji. "Not like humans do," Ryong replied. "Most species I have observed are social within their family groups or tribes, but they become suspicious of outsiders quickly. Humans seem to have an unusual ability to extend their circle of care to include strangers." "Is that why you stayed?" Hana asked. "To study us?" "I stayed because your kindness reminded me of something I thought was lost," Ryong said. "Hope." Their peaceful discussions were interrupted on the 4th day, when Taemin picked up ships approaching their system. 5 vessels, coming in fast, he reported. "They're not responding to standard communication requests." Hana hurried to the control room. On the screen she could see the approaching ships. They were ugly, angular things, bristling with weapons. "Pirates," Minho said grimly. "Looks like Kang Daeho's gang. They've been hitting mining operations in this sector for months." Hana's heart sank. Daeho was notorious for his cruelty. His gang didn't just steal cargo. They often killed crews to avoid witnesses. "Can we run?" she asked. "Not with those ships," Taemin replied. "They're faster than us, and we're attached to this asteroid. It would take too long to break away." "Fighting them is suicide," Minho added. "We have 1 small defense gun. They have 5 warships." Ryong, who had been listening quietly, stood up. "Perhaps you should allow me to handle this." "What can you do?" Hana asked. "What I should have been doing all along," Ryong replied. His voice had changed, becoming deeper and more powerful. "Protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Before anyone could ask what he meant, the pirate ships opened fire. The station shook as energy blasts hit their shields. "Shields at 60%, Juno reported. "They're targeting our power systems." "This is Captain Kang Daeho," came a rough voice over the communications. "Surrender now and we might let some of you live." Ryong walked toward the airlock. "I will speak with them," he said. "That's suicide," Minho protested. "You can't go out there." "Trust me," Ryong said, and something in his voice made them all step back. He cycled through the airlock and into space. Through the viewports, they watched him floating in the vacuum, unprotected by any suit or equipment. He should have died instantly, but instead he hung in space as if it was as natural as breathing air. "How is he alive out there?" Yuna whispered. Their answer came a moment later. Ryong began to change. He grew larger, much larger. His human appearance fell away like a shed skin, revealing something magnificent and terrible. Scales that gleamed like starlight covered his expanding form. Wings spread out, each one larger than their entire station. His neck extended, becoming serpentine and graceful, ending in a head full of ancient wisdom and barely contained power. "By all the stars," Juno breathed. "He really is a dragon." The dragon that had been Ryong was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. Space itself seemed to bend around him, as if reality was having trouble accommodating his presence. The pirate ships had stopped firing, their crews probably as stunned as Hana's was. When the dragon spoke, his voice echoed not through radio waves but through space itself, vibrating through the hulls of every ship in the system. "You threaten those under my protection," the voice said. This was unwise. Daeho's voice came back over the radio, but it was shaky now. "What are you? Some kind of alien weapon?" I am something much older than weapons, the dragon replied. I am consequence. What happened next was not a battle. It was a demonstration of power so complete that it redefined what Hana thought was possible. The dragon moved with impossible grace for something so large. One wing swept through space, and 3 of the pirate ships simply ceased to exist, not destroyed but unmade, as if they had never been built at all. The remaining 2 ships tried to flee, but the dragon was everywhere at once. He appeared in front of them, behind them, around them. Space twisted and folded, and the ships found themselves caught in a maze of folded reality. Please. Diho's voice was begging now. We didn't know. We'll leave. We'll never come back. You will not harm innocents again, the dragon said. It was not a request. The dragon breathed, not fire, but something that looked like liquid starlight. It washed over the remaining ships, and when it faded, they hung dead in space, their weapons and engines fused into useless metal. Go, the dragon commanded. Tell others what you have seen. Tell them that some places are protected. The pirates activated emergency thrusters and limped away, their ships barely functional but their crews alive. The dragon turned his attention back to Haven 7. Slowly he began to shrink, folding in on himself until he was human-shaped again. He drifted back to the airlock and the crew rushed to let him in. When he cycled through, he looked exactly as he had before, except his golden eyes now held flecks of starlight. Are you all right? Hana asked, though she felt foolish asking. What could threaten a being like that? I am well, Ryong replied, though I fear I have revealed more of myself than I intended. That was incredible, Jiwan said. How did you do that? How did you unmake those ships? Matter and energy are more flexible than most species understand, Ryong explained. When you have lived as long as I have, you learn to work with the fundamental forces rather than against them. You saved us, Yuna said simply. You saved me first, Ryong replied. You gave me shelter when I needed it. You showed me kindness when I had forgotten it existed. It seemed appropriate to return the favor. Hana sat down heavily. We're probably going to have a lot of questions to answer when the authorities find out what happened here. They will find out what I choose for them to find out, Ryong said. For now, they will learn that Daeho's gang encountered an unknown defensive system and fled. Nothing more. Can you do that? I have had much practice at remaining unseen when necessary, Ryong said. But I find I am tired of hiding. What does that mean? Minho asked. Ryong looked around at all of them. It means that for the first time in millennia, I have found a species worth protecting openly. Your people have shown me that kindness still exists in the universe, that there are still those who will help a stranger in need, regardless of the risk. So what happens now? Hana asked. Now, Ryong said with what might have been a smile, I think it is time I showed the universe what happens when someone threatens those I have chosen to protect. Outside, space was peaceful again. But Hana had the feeling that their quiet life on Haven 7 was about to become much more complicated. The next morning brought visitors. Not pirates this time, but official ones. A sleek ship bearing the symbols of the Galactic Trade Consortium docked with Haven 7, followed by vessels from 3 different alien governments. This is Consortium. Administrator Vex, came a voice over the communication system. We need to speak with Station Manager Lee Hana immediately. Hana looked at Ryong, who was calmly drinking tea in the common area as if interdimensional beings hadn't just shown up at their door. Should I be worried? She asked. Not worried, no, Ryong replied. But you may find today interesting. The meeting took place in Haven 7's small conference room. Administrator Vex was a tall, blue-skinned being with 4 arms and eyes that held the cold calculation of someone who dealt in vast sums of money. With him were representatives from the Kepler Mining Authority, the Human Colonial Government, and something called the Deep Space Regulatory Commission. Ms. Lee, Administrator, Vex began. We understand you recently hosted an individual who calls himself Ryong. That's correct, Hana said carefully. He requested emergency shelter during a cosmic storm. And this individual, where is he now? Right here, Ryong said, entering the room. Somehow he looked both completely ordinary and completely extraordinary. At the same time, Administrator Vex's four eyes focused on Ryong with visible discomfort. Sir, we need to discuss a certain transaction that was completed in Ms. Lee's name yesterday. Transaction? Hana asked. What transaction? The purchase of the planet Kepler 442b, Vex replied, including all mining rights, orbital territories, and development permissions, purchased for the sum of 1 authenticated scale from a verified star dragon. Hana felt the room spin. I'm sorry, what? The transaction is legally binding, Vex continued. The payment was confirmed by our most advanced analysis systems. A single dragon scale contains more concentrated value than the gross domestic product of most star systems. She turned to stare at Ryong. You bought me a planet? I bought humanity a foothold in galactic politics, Ryong corrected gently. Kepler 442b is strategically located at the intersection of 3 major hyperspace routes. It contains deposits of rare elements essential for faster-than-light travel. Most importantly, it gives your species leverage in discussions with older civilizations. The representative from the human colonial government, a nervous-looking man named Director Park, leaned forward. Sir, with respect, this transaction has caused significant disruption in galactic markets. The Zephyrian Empire is demanding explanations. The Stellar Confederacy is threatening economic sanctions. 3 separate mining consortiums are filing legal challenges. Let them, Ryong said simply. You don't understand, Director Park continued. Humanity doesn't have the resources to develop an entire planet. We don't have the infrastructure, the population, or the political connections to manage something like this. You have something better, Ryong replied. You have the ability to work together with other species. You have proven that you can show kindness to strangers. These qualities will serve you well. Administrator Vex pulled out a datapad. The planet in question has an estimated value of 47 trillion galactic credits. Its strategic importance makes it effectively priceless. Several major powers have been vying for development rights for decades. And now it belongs to us? Hana asked weakly. To you, specifically, Vex confirmed. You are listed as the primary legal owner. The human colonial government has been granted secondary administrative rights, but final authority rests with you. Hana looked around the table at faces ranging from confused to angry to calculating. I run a small mining operation with 8 people. I can't govern a planet. Of course you can, Ryong said. You have already proven you can make difficult decisions under pressure. You can work with people different from yourself. You understand the value of cooperation over conflict. Sir, the representative from the Deep Space Regulatory Commission spoke up. This one was the insectoid being with a translator collar. The purchase of Kepler 442b has destabilized the entire sector. 3 different species have territorial claims on nearby systems. The economic implications alone will work themselves out, Ryong interrupted. Markets adapt. Politics shift. What matters is that humanity now has a place at the table when decisions are made about this region of space. Director Park was sweating. Do you have any idea what you've done? We're not ready for this kind of responsibility. We're barely holding together our existing colonies. Then you will learn, Ryong said. You will adapt. You will grow. This is what young species do when given opportunity. Hana stood up abruptly. I need a moment. She walked out of the conference room and into the corridor trying to process what was happening. Ryong followed her. You are overwhelmed. Overwhelmed? Hana laughed, but it came out slightly hysterical. I'm a mining station manager. Yesterday, my biggest problem was a broken recycling unit. Now I apparently own a planet worth more money than I can imagine. Does the amount of money matter? Ryong asked. Of course it matters. Why? Hana opened her mouth to explain, then stopped. Why? Did it matter? Because money means power. Responsibility. People will expect things from me that I can't deliver. What kinds of things? I don't know. political decisions, economic policies, military strategies. I don't know anything about running a planet. You know how to treat people fairly, Ryong said. You know how to make hard decisions when lives are at stake. You know how to build trust and cooperation. These are the most important skills for any leader. But what if I make mistakes? What if I fail? Then you will learn from the mistakes and try again, Ryong said simply. This is what good leaders do. Through the viewport, Hana could see more ships arriving. Word was spreading fast about the mysterious transaction. Why me? She asked. Why give this to me instead of the government or some experienced politician? Because, Ryong said, when a stranger asked for help in a storm, you said yes without hesitation. Because you treat your crew as family, not employees. Because you have never once in our conversation suggested that humans are superior to other species. Only different. He paused, looking out at the gathering ships. I have watched civilizations rise and fall for millennia. I have seen what happens when power is given to those who seek it versus those who are willing to bear it. You did not ask for this responsibility, which is exactly why you can be trusted with it. Back in the conference room, the arguing had grown louder. Administrator Vex was trying to mediate between increasingly angry representatives. Furthermore, the Kepler Mining Authority representative was saying, the sudden change in ownership has voided 17 major mining contracts. The compensation claims alone will be honored, Ryong said, re-entering the room with Hana. The new administration will respect all existing contracts and workers' rights. New administration? Director Park asked. Haven 7 will serve as the administrative center for Kepler 442b, Ryong announced. Ms. Lee will establish a council including both human and non-human representatives to oversee development and governance. This is insane, muttered someone at the table. This is opportunity, Ryong corrected. Humanity now has a chance to demonstrate that a young species can be responsible stewards of valuable resources. You can show the galaxy that cooperation and fairness are more effective than conquest and exploitation. Administrator Vex looked tired. The paperwork alone will take months to process. Then you should begin immediately, Ryong suggested. As the officials continued their discussions, Hana pulled Ryong aside once more. What happens when they leave? She asked. When it's just us again, sitting on a planet worth more than some star systems? Then you do what you have always done, Ryong replied. You treat people fairly. You make the best decisions you can with the information you have, and you ask for help when you need it. And you? Will you stay to help? Ryong looked out at the stars. For a while, yes. Long enough to make sure you are established and secure. And then? Then I will do what my kind should have been doing all along, he said. I will watch over those who need watching over. Outside, more ships continued to arrive, bringing reporters, diplomats, and fortune seekers. Hana's quiet life as a mining station manager was officially over. But looking at her crew, who had gathered to watch the proceedings with a mixture of excitement and nervousness, she realized that maybe she was ready for whatever came next. After all, if she could show kindness to a stranger in a storm, perhaps she could learn to govern a planet in peace. 6 months after the purchase of Kepler 442b, Haven 7 had transformed from a simple mining station into the bustling center of interspecies diplomacy. Ships came and went daily, bringing delegates, traders, scientists, and curious visitors from across the galaxy. Hana stood in what had once been the station's small conference room and was now the planetary council chambers. Around the expanded table sat representatives from a dozen different species, all working together to establish the New World's government and development policies. The Terran Mining Collective has agreed to our environmental protection standards, reported Bei Jiwan, who had become the head of industrial development. They're actually excited about the challenge of mining without damaging the ecosystem. The Zephyrian agricultural specialists have identified 3 regions perfect for farming, added Otaman, now serving as planetary resource coordinator. They want to establish training centers to teach both human and alien farming techniques. Hana nodded, making notes on her datapad. The transition had been overwhelming at first, but she was beginning to understand what Ryong had meant about adapting and growing. Every day brought new challenges, but also new solutions as different species shared their knowledge and expertise. Any word from the deep space monitoring stations? She asked Song Minji, who had expanded her communications role to include interstellar intelligence gathering. All quiet, Minji replied. No sign of hostile activity in any nearby systems. This was important because Ryong had warned them that his decision to stop hiding might attract unwanted attention. For months, everyone had been watching the stars, nervously, waiting for something terrible to emerge from the darkness between worlds. Speaking of monitoring, Choi Yuna spoke up from her position as head of the new medical consortium. Our deep space sensors have detected something interesting. 3 ships approaching from the galactic core region. They're not matching any known designs in our databases. Hana felt her stomach tighten. Hostile? Unknown. But they're broadcasting on very old frequencies. Ancient ones. Before anyone could ask what that meant, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Not the harsh warning sounds they used for emergencies, but the deep, melodious tones that meant someone very important was arriving. Ryong entered the council chamber. Over the past months, he had served as an advisor to the new government, offering guidance but never trying to control their decisions. Today, however, he looked different, more alert, more present, as if he had been waiting for this moment. The ships Yuna detected, he said without preamble. They carry my kin. Other dragons? Hana asked. 3 of the last star dragons, Ryong confirmed. They have been hiding even longer than I have in the deep spaces between galaxies. But they felt what happened here. They felt hope returning to the universe. Through the viewports, they could see the approaching ships. Like Ryong's vessel, they were organic-looking, shaped like sleeping creatures rather than mechanical constructs. Are they friendly? Asked Park Minho, who now commanded the planet's modest defense forces. They are cautious, Ryong replied. They will want to see what I have found here. What you have built. The docking process took several hours. The dragon ships were enormous, requiring specially constructed bays that had been built into the expanded station. When the airlocks finally opened, 3 figures emerged. They looked similar to Ryong's human form, but each was unique. The first was tall and elegant with silver hair and eyes like deep ocean water. The second was shorter and broader, with golden skin and eyes that sparkled like jewels. The third was ancient even by dragon standards, moving slowly but with obvious power, hair white as starlight and eyes that held the wisdom of eons. Ryong the Hidden, the Ancient One, spoke first. You have been busy. Kazuki, Nari, Daisung, Ryong replied, bowing to each in turn. Welcome to Haven 7. So these are the humans who reminded you of your purpose, said the one called Nari, studying Hana and her crew with obvious curiosity. They offered shelter to a stranger in a storm, Ryong explained. They showed kindness, without expecting reward. And for this you revealed yourself? Kazuki asked. You gifted them a planet? You abandoned millennia of careful hiding? I remembered why we once thought protecting the innocent was worth any risk, Ryong replied. The 3 visiting dragons spent several days observing life on Haven 7 and the developing colonies on Kepler 442b. They watched humans work alongside aliens, saw species that had been enemies for generations cooperating on shared projects, and witnessed the careful balance Hana's administration had struck between development and conservation. Interesting, Daisung said after observing a joint human-Zephyrian research project. They do not seek to dominate the other species. They genuinely seem to value cooperation over conquest. This is what I tried to tell you, Ryong said. Humans have something rare. They extend their protective instincts beyond their own species. It could be a deception, Kazuki pointed out. A long-term strategy for galactic dominance. Watch them longer, Ryong suggested. See how they resolve conflicts. See how they treat those who cannot offer them anything in return. The test came sooner than anyone expected. A refugee ship arrived carrying survivors from a destroyed world, members of a species that had no resources, no technology to trade, and no political value. They asked only for temporary shelter while they searched for a new home. The Planetary Council met in emergency session. Some representatives argued that they couldn't afford to support refugees when they were still establishing their own colonies. Others worried about setting a precedent that would attract more displaced populations than they could handle. Hana listened to the debates, then made her decision. "We'll take them," she said simply. "We'll help them find a new home, and while they're here, they'll be treated as guests, not burdens." "Even though they can offer nothing in return?" asked one of the alien representatives. "Especially because they can offer nothing in return," Hana replied. "Helping people when you gain nothing from it is what separates civilization from barbarism." That night, Kazuki found Hana in the observation deck where she often went to think. "You could have turned the refugees away," the dragon said. "It would have been the practical decision." "Practical isn't always right," Hana replied. "No," Kazuki agreed. "It is not. Your species continues to surprise me." "Is that good or bad?" "It is hopeful," Kazuki said. "For the first time in millennia, it is hopeful." The next morning brought a gathering unlike anything the galaxy had seen in 10,000 years. 4 star dragons met in their true forms in the space around Kepler 442b, their massive shapes creating an aurora of starlight that could be seen from 3 systems away. When they returned to Haven 7, their decision was unanimous. "We will resume our duties," Daisung announced to the assembled council. "We will once again serve as guardians and guides for young civilizations." "Because of us?" Hana asked. "Because of what you represent," Nari corrected. "Hope that intelligence and compassion can coexist. Proof that a species can be powerful without being cruel." "What does this mean practically?" asked Kim Juno. "It means," Ryong explained, "that humanity will not face the future alone. It means that when threats arise that are beyond your ability to handle, you will have allies. It means that other young species will have examples to follow and guides to help them." "And Haven 7? Hana asked. "Will become the first interspecies capital in this region of the galaxy," Kazuki said. "A place where different civilizations can meet, trade, and learn from each other." Over the following months, the transformation continued. Haven 7 expanded again and again, becoming a small city floating in space. Kepler 442b bloomed with settlements representing dozens of species, all working together under the governance model Hana's administration had established. The planet became known throughout the galaxy as the place where kindness led to power, and species from across the stars sent representatives to study how such cooperation was possible. But perhaps the most important change was the one that happened quietly, in the depths of space. Ancient sensors that had been silent for millennia began to wake up. Communications networks that had been abandoned came back online, and throughout the galaxy, beings that had hidden for eons began to emerge from the shadows. Star dragons were returning to the universe. On the first anniversary of Ryong's arrival at Haven 7, Hana stood once again in the observation deck, looking out at a sky filled with ships from 100 different worlds. The quiet mining station where she had once worried about broken recycling units was now the diplomatic heart of an entire sector. Ryong joined her, as she somehow knew he would. "Any regrets?" he asked. "About which part?" Hana replied. "Letting a stranger take shelter during a storm? Accepting a planet as a gift? Becoming the governor of an interspecies alliance? About having your quiet life disrupted?" Hana considered this seriously. "You know what I've learned? Quiet lives are overrated. This is better, harder, but better. Even when the responsibility feels overwhelming." "Especially then," Hana said, "because it means we're doing something that matters." They stood in comfortable silence watching the ships come and go. In the distance, they could see the lights of the colonies on Kepler 442b, where humans and aliens were building something new together.